I can't believe I'm gonna do this. We've all been there, ghosted by a friend and by a date, maybe a fiance, a family member, and it hurts. It doesn't feel good, and it messes with your head. You replay conversations, you reread your messages, and you wonder if you kinda did something wrong. And at some point you're gonna ask, when did this become normal? When did disappearing become, acceptable? And is technology the reason this feels so brutal right now? But the truth is, technology has already been shaping all of us for years, quietly and daily, and in ways that we barely even notice. Now, I used to think that ghosting was something that happened to me, and I couldn't even remember the last time that I got ghosted. But while I was preparing this video, sitting there with this smug look on my face, this feeling of self-righteousness, just thinking, yeah, people suck, a memory hit me like a brick. We're gonna call this person Jerry. Now, Jerry and I were friends back around 2010. Good friends. And then I moved, he moved, life happened, and vibes got really weird. And one day, I just stopped replying. Now, years later, Jerry texted me, and I reply with a simple LOL. He texted again, and then I left it on red. So what's the moral of the story here? That I suck? Maybe. But here's the thing. Ghosting didn't start with smartphones. People have always been disappointed. Friendships have faded, and relationships have completely drifted apart. People just stopped responding, but technology didn't invest ghosting. What it did was it optimized that whole entire process. Now let's talk about the first upgrade. Those read receipts that we all get when somebody sees what we wrote. It's a cool feature, but absolutely terrible for your mental health. Because silence used to be neutral, and now we have silence as a new form of information. Because if someone doesn't reply, your brain's gonna fill in the gap. And they saw it, and they chose not to answer. Now, some people adapted. They stopped opening messages, and tech just responded with, okay, but what if we show them when you're online? And suddenly you had all these active nows, active 10 minutes ago, posted a story an hour ago. There's no hiding anymore. Before, you could lie to yourself. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe life happened. Now, you don't have to stalk, and you don't have to dig. All you have to do is open up your phone, and there it is. They're alive, and they're scrolling. They're just not responding to you. And that's a different kind of pain. And if you've been there, you know the feeling. You stare at your phone, and you're like, okay, they definitely saw it, so now what? You put your phone back down, and then you pick it back up, and then you tell yourself you actually don't care, and you check again anyway. And it's not because you're weak, but because the system trains your brain to expect feedback. And guess what? I've been on the other side too, with Jerry. I saw the message, and I knew replying would turn it into a conversation, an explanation, and a complete reopening of something that I just did not have the energy for. So guess what? I didn't respond. And it wasn't because I hated him or anything, and it wasn't because I wanted to hurt him. It was because engaging felt like work, and ignoring just felt way easier. And what did technology do with all this? Well, that's simple. Technology made all this ignoring effortless. Now you don't have confrontation. Now there's no explanation. Just read and silence. And then let's not miss that weird middle ground, right? Someone's reacting to your message, but they react with just like one of those little emojis, right? And it's not a reply, but it's also not nothing. So now you're stuck. Do I respond to the reaction? Is that the end? Am I supposed to say something? And you freeze, and freezing becomes ghosting. Or sometimes someone reaches out years later and you reply, you're being polite, you're being a human being. And then the conversation just fades. There's no drama and there's no arguments. It just dies all over again. And that's the part people don't want to actually talk about, because these people aren't villains. They're normal people. They're your friends and your coworkers. Maybe someone you dated for a while. Someone you thought you were cool with. Someone you vibed with. These are people choosing the easiest exit available. So what? Are we just saying that all these ghosters get a free pass? No. Some ghosting is boundaries. Some ghosting is safety. Some ghosting is, I cannot open this door. But let's be honest. Some people ghost on purpose, and they know it hurts. They know you're waiting. They like the power of silence. That's not overwhelm. That's cruelty. It's just quiet. And technology makes that easy too. Because guess what? You don't have to see the reaction. You don't have to hear the disappointment. They just disappear. And the other person is just going to be left guessing. Now here's why ghosting hurts more now. It's not because people suddenly got worse than they were 20, 30 years ago. But because tech gives just enough information to hurt and just enough distance to have to avoid any responsibility affiliated with it. So you might have one person that's replaying every word that was ever sent, and the other person put their phone down and they're completely chilling and they're not even paying attention. They've already moved on to something else. And this is where it connects to everything else. Because AI removes friction from work, and apps remove friction from communication. And when you remove friction, you remove the moment where people stop and go, hey, maybe I should probably deal with this? Doing nothing becomes the default exit. So here's the question. When did ghosting become okay? That answer's simple. When disappearing became painless, and when silence stopped feeling like it was a rude thing to do, and it started feeling a lot more convenient. When doing nothing became the easier choice, and soon, you won't even know if the silence is human, ignored or deferred, or filtered, or automated. At that point, ghosting isn't even a choice. It's just gonna be how the system behaves. So now we're back here. Me, my phone, that message. I type it. I stare at it. I think about Jerry waiting years ago. I think about read receipts, and I think about silence. And I hit send. And whatever happens next, you'll never know. Because that uncertainty, that's ghosting now. Thanks for watching.